For me, going out camping is a social deal. I enjoy going out. Um, I like being with other people out in the woods, like-minded people. And sometimes it's nice to have a group shelter that you can hang out in. A big shelter is nice to have. You can cook in it with stoves. You can have a fire in front of it. You can get lots of people in there. This one here will probably be able to get 3 to 4 people in it. I'm going to be using two 10 by 10 Bushcraft USA tarps. To start with, I have a ridge pole on this one, and you can do this with a line, and you can do it between two trees, but I'm going to do a couple other things with this. People have asked about fires in front of it, so I'm going to show an example of that. But to start with, I got a pole that was about, 13, 14 foot long. You can go longer if you want. And I just tied it right about head high to that walnut tree right there. And I made a bipod. I did a bipod lash on it. And then just set the pole in the cross section of that bipod. Now it doesn't matter the distance between those two bipod legs. You can adjust that, and it'll help tighten up your tarp a little bit too. But we're going to be building a fire in front of this, and I'm going to go over a little bit more on how to rig this up with two tarps. Alright, after I got the bipod set where I wanted it, about head high, and the other ends about head high, I took the tarp and laid it across there and moved the bipod so it's about 10 foot across, because that's what these tarps are, is 10 by 10. And I kind of measured it so that's how much space I have there, so it's not going to be hanging over too much. And then to secure it down, the legs of the bipod, you just pound two stakes in a cross configuration, and it keeps those bipod legs from spreading out. You can even lash them on there if you're really worried about it, but it works pretty well. I had a little bit left over from my bipod lash, so I tied a clove hitch on there to hold the ridge pole on there. And that's where we're at. Alright, my first tarp is up. You see the layout works pretty well. You just lay your tarp across there, and then I took it down to the bottom corners. They're going to touch pretty close to the ground. Brought it down, put a stake in the ground, just like we were talking about on basic tarp setup. And I put a clove hitch on it. I'm sorry, not clove hitch, a taut line hitch on it. That way I can adjust the tightness of it. And I came over here and put a fairly long piece of 550 cord, because I'm going to put my other tarp across there and tie it off to there and run long pieces off it, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. But even as it stands right there, that's a decent shelter. But we're going to make it better by putting one more tarp on the other side of it. Alright, now I've added my second tarp. I've got the same amount of overhang on both sides. I added some more stakes just so it's tight enough, and I'll show you in a second how tall this is. I can stand up inside here, and it's easy to get changed if you have to get changed. You got room to move around, and I'll get a sleeping bag here in a little bit to show size and how many people you can actually get in there. Alright, I think you can see here, a little bit smoky, stuff's awful wet right now, but you can see sleeping bag laid in there. You can see how I got that pot hanging from that ridge pole, and I talked about how you can make it a little bit longer. You can have that fire as far away as you want it. I'll move over here a little bit. You have a nice dry place where you can prep your firewood. There's one sleeping bag in my pack, and you can see how much room is under there. You can even lay it out a different way. You can lay them out long ways in there if you want, also, the sleeping bags. Also, there's a nice area in there if you want to, if it's raining and you don't want to get a fire going, you can cook with your alky stove or your multi-fuel stove or whatever you have in there. It's ventilated plenty well. All in all, even for a one-person shelter, you got a ton of room in there. For a group, 2 or 3, you got plenty of room. And for the weight, it's still under 3 pounds for that whole shelter setup.